social issues, education, religion, government, or national security. Brannon brings the issues of the day into clear focus through the lens of a Judeo-Christian worldview. And now, here is your host, Brannon Howse.
And welcome to the broadcast on this July 24th, 2025. Hey, folks, we told you when President Trump and his administration do something that's great and awesome, we're going to tell you. Well, he's done it again, something great and awesome. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't agree. That's just the way it is, right? That's what our job is, to just call balls and strikes. And he's doing more good things we agree with than what we disagree with. There's not a lot we disagree with. Of course, we're very excited about the Trump administration and HHS pointing out that there's organ harvesting going on out there. People are being murdered to get their organs. I'm not on the donor list, by the way. I refused to do that years ago. My gut reaction said, I don't trust people. Like Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify. I'm like, don't trust until they've been verified. And so I said no. And now we find out they're harvesting organs. And who do we have to thank for bringing this out? Donald Trump's HHS administration. Well, I'm going to go to Michael Weiner here in a minute, because something else that Donald Trump has done that we agree with is he is taking on the feds. Have you seen these video clips today? They are hilarious. You've got to see them. But I did today interview this lady here. She's an anesthesiologist, Dr. Heidi Klesig, the brain death fallacy. Folks, it was an hour every one of you must watch. God forbid any of us are ever in the situation where we have to deal with a family that's in such a state of emergency as to be declared brain dead. Well, we've been lied to by, again, the medical establishment. And this doctor, an anesthesiologist, points out and told me today about the first time she walked into a room where they were going to harvest someone's organs. And she was like, I'm not so sure this person should be having their organs harvested. And that led to her educating herself and now us. I had an hour with her today on radio, and you should watch the whole hour at worldviewtube.com. And how do we know about this? Thanks to the Trump administration and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., hospitals murdering people for their organs. She told stories of people on their way down the hall to have their organs taken out who were crying. Yeah, they were alert. Their eyes were open and tears coming out. Oh, that's just the nerves. That's just reflex. They're really gone. No, that man ended up living because no doctor, thankfully, would take his organs. Another guy had a serious accident and even had, I guess, brain tissue coming out of his ear. And they're going to take him down the hall and take his organ. And his cousin pulled his pocket knife out and rubbed it against his foot, and he jerked his foot. And I guess he did again, and this young man that they said was just reflexes, took a swing at his cousin. He was locked in his body. He could hear everything going on and what was happening. And his cousin took that pocket knife and moved it against his bare foot while he pulled his foot back. Oh, they're just reflexes. So he did something else, and that's, as I said, that the man took a swing at his cousin. They decided, okay, he's not ready to have his organs taken. Dr. Klesig told us about that story today and how that man went on to live a great life. And I said, that man has to be from the South. That sounds like a Southern boy pulling out the pocket knife, rubbing it against his cousin's foot. That sounds like something a Southern guy would do. Sure enough, she said Oklahoma. Yeah, definitely in the Southern range. So I guess he got that pocket knife now as a gift from his cousin. So who do we have to thank for all of this getting national attention in the last 24 to 48 hours? The Trump administration, HHS, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So we could say a lot of great things. Okay, so when we do, we say them. When we have a few things we're concerned about, AI and other stuff, we say that too. But I'm going to tell you something else we're excited about, as I said, and that is President Trump taking on the Fed. Because these clips today are hilarious of Donald Trump going to the Fed. Now, let's bring in Michael Weiner to talk about this, because Michael is a huge critic of Jerome Powell. He'll try to hold back because this guy, Michael Weiner, cannot stand Jerome Powell. But Michael, you got to see these clips if you haven't. They're hilarious.
They're great. Trump does everything for reasons. I mean, it's amazing how he has a plan. He goes to see the building while he's there. I don't know. One of the funniest ones is when one of the newscasters said to him, "Well, if you had he's talked about a hotel he built for $200 million, and he said this thing is ridiculous. It never should have started, but here we are. We got to finish it." But then he turned around and he said, "What would you have done if somebody would have been over budget like this that worked for you?" He said, "I would have fired him."
Yep.
If you were looking at Jerome Powell, the guy looked like he wanted to kill himself for being right next to Trump. The guy looked so miserable. It was unbelievable.
Indeed. Let's play a few of these clips. Here we go. We got a few. They're hilarious. Here we go. First one today. Here we go.
Like it's got a long way to go.
Yes, sir.
So,
President, are there things the chairman can say to you today that would make you back off some of the earlier criticism?
well, I'd love him to lower interest rates. Other than that, what can I tell you?
Yeah, I mean, that's not a big deal, right? Lower interest rates, for Pete's sake. Get this Trump economy going. Is he going to do it? Is he going to lower the interest rates?
I at first I thought not. I thought definitely wouldn't do anything till maybe the last couple of quarters. But I think right now there's so much heat upon him. Even Goolsbee came out and said that maybe we should be rethinking this. But again, the Federal Reserve is not the organization it was set up to be at all. Now they're trying to do what they should have done and say, we're not going to leak anything prior to our meetings. We're going to be quiet. But they've already done all the leaking 2 weeks ago, that all of them said, well, we don't think it's necessary and all the rest of it. But all of the predicates that they had to this, which also involved tariffs, and they talked about the attacks that we would get back upon us, retribution for these tariffs, they never happened.
Right.
Nobody ever did anything. And it's coming to a very positive end. So it's like Thomas Jefferson, you said back at his inaugural speech, that we don't need to tax our people. We can just do it through tariffs.
Yep.
And someday these tariffs can land up being a huge positive for us.
Absolutely.
But the Federal Reserve right now, I would have to say it's about 60-40 that they would do it. Used to be 60-40 they wouldn't. But I think right now, even with Trump's little trip today, I mean, if you play some more of the clips.
Oh, yeah, let's play another. Let's play the next one. Here's the next one. Here we go.
It's hilarious.
Billion went up a little bit or a lot. So
Look at Jerome Powell shaking his head. I mean, I can't believe Jerome Powell fell for this. Did he not realize this was a setup? But he fell for it. Here we go.
Billion went up a little bit or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah,
He's talking about the rebuilding, the Fed buildings they're building and the rebuilding and all they're doing. They're arguing about the numbers. Here we go.
it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out.
Our notes said it about 3.1 as well.
3.1.
3.2.
This came from us.
Yes. I don't know who does that.
Now, you're including the Martin renovation. You just
That's our
added.
entire capital.
Yeah, you just added in a third building. Is what that is. That's a third building.
Well,
including
no,
the
but
Martin building.
it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
But it's
So,
not new.
So we're going to take a look. We're going to see what's happening, and it's got a long way. Do you expect any more additional cost overruns?
Don't expect them. We're ready for them. But we have a little bit of a reserve that we may use. But no, we don't. We expect to be finished in 2027. We're well along, as you can see.
Nice to take these off every once in a while when we're not in.
Look at Powell. Look at Powell's face. Oh, gosh. Trump is sticking it to him for how much he's spending on these buildings and the overruns and how long it's taking.
I like how Trump pulled out that document in his pocket. He said he had to take a look at it, didn't realize what he had. But that's the same thing with the economy. But I think the one little tidbit that one of the spots that you could pull up is the one where he asked Donald Trump about, one of the reporters asked him about the building and what was going on. And it was just absolutely amazing what the response Trump had. And
Okay, we'll play that one. Here's before he went over, getting ready to head over to the Fed to look at their now $3.1 billion plus construction project. Good grief.
That spot right there was one of the best. I mean, I couldn't stop laughing at that one. Trump just nailed him on that. You could look at Powell's face, but there's things afoot right now that are very concerning with the Fed. There needs to be a whole revamping there because it's not just Powell and the governors. It's also the people that work there. You know, people think there's only 6 people working at the Federal Reserve. There's probably 1,400 geniuses back there. All of them are probably lefty Democrats. And no matter what, they're going to do the wrong thing. And if you go through the years and review all of the activity of the Federal Reserve, other than the one time of Paul Volcker, these guys are a bunch of buffoons. And they are running amok. There's no accountability. There's no governmental oversight. That's why their own best guy, Kennedy, tried to get rid of them. That's why Andrew Jackson did what he did. It's legitimately chaotic and stupid. It's almost like unconstitutional. And the office of...
Here's the one clip you're going to love.
As a real estate developer, what would you do with a project manager who would be over budget?
Generally speaking, what would I do? I'd fire him.
Do you think this issue, Mr. President, gives you cause to do that?
Well, I'm here just really with the chairman. He's showing us around, showing us the work. And so I don't want to get that. I don't want to be personal. I just would like to see it get finished. And in many ways, it's too bad it started. But it did start. And it's been under construction for a long time. It's going to be a real long time because it looks like it's got a long way to go.
Yes, sir.
Logan sent this to me late last night. He's like, look at President Trump's schedule. He's going to the Federal Reserve. We're like, what is that going to be about? So we've been waiting since late last night. All right, here's another one. Here we go. Here's another one. Let's go to this one. So that's just them walking and touring. And obviously that's Senator Tim Scott with them. All right, let's see another one here. Let's see. Let's go to this one. I don't want to repeat them, but I think this is a new one.
So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about $3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot.
$3.1 billion. Now, Powell, we saw that one, but we didn't get the first full cut of it. Yeah. But Powell did not like that one at all. You saw him.
Powell didn't like it.
He didn't like any of it, did he? Here's Trump coming down. What happened to Powell, Logan? Did he bolt? Powell decided not to stick around. Left President Trump by himself.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. And it feels very good, actually, to be back on a construction site.
All right, let's see what else we got. Here's another one. Here we go. More of the same. Here we go.
You know, if you remember, not so long ago, we rebuilt the old post office into the Trump Hotel, and we sold it to Waldorf Astoria. And it was a great success, and we had great luck with the building. We did a good job. We built it quickly and relatively inexpensively for about $200 million. And that was a big hotel, big project. But we looked around, and Tim Scott's here someplace. Tim, come on up. You saw what we saw. And the big thing is to get it done. They have to get it done. They have to get it finished. And very importantly, we have to get interest rates lowered in our country. Our country is the hottest in the world right now, but the one section, people are pretty much unable to buy housing because the interest rates are too high. We have no inflation. We have a lot of cash coming in. The tariffs have been unbelievable now. People that didn't even believe in tariffs are saying, what a great move that was. We have hundreds of billions of dollars coming in. Japan, just on one deal, is paying us $550 billion. And they opened up their economy. It's incredible, the deal. and they're happy. We're happy. Everybody's happy. But we should have the lowest interest rate of any country, and we don't. We should have. Every point is worth $365 billion. So we want to get the rates down, but we also want to get the Fed building finished. So I met with the contractors. We toured it with the chairman, and we had a very good tour, and we'll talk to you about it sometime. But Tim and I, we sort of understand what happened.
We understand what happened, and Jerome Powell's not there. He didn't follow the president out.
Oh, no. I probably went back to his office and got his little teddy bear and stuffed himself in the corner under his blankie. I mean, this guy is just totally doesn't have a clue. He had to receive a piece of paper to take a look at it. I mean, he should have been well versed in the first place. And that's the Federal Reserve Board Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, running all of your money here in America. Congratulations. That's why we're a train wreck. That's why we tell people to create their own bank of gold, because this idiot's still in charge and there's other idiots behind him. And between all of them, they can't even spin a top. I mean, it's unbelievable, the politics that play into this.
How do you spend $3.1 billion on these buildings?
Called graft. I mean, people are probably getting money under the table left and right. It's just somebody's on their way to Hawaii now based on building that building. Probably the guys who got all the commissions putting it together. I've never seen any insanity.
Ridiculous.
My partners and I built an old building years ago, a project, 800,000 square foot project, and 3 buildings. And Trump was right. If they would have been over budget, we would have fired them. We would have literally probably hung them. But these guys are totally, to talk about them being conscious of our money is how unconscious they are of their own money.
Right.
And again, this plays into this whole, again, what Wes and I talk about with the staple coin. What people have to understand, people have to understand is that the staple coins right now can be placed in your bank account and taking your money out. Banks can replace your cash, and also in your securities firms, change your financial positions with your money market accounts, with your annuities, with your bank accounts, with staple cryptocurrency, and you can't stop them. This is the new law. I'm not necessarily agreeing with this. That's why I said months ago, Brandon, to create your own gold bank. That's what these states are talking about doing, and that's what people should do right now.
Can we bring up the tweet by Marjorie Taylor Greene, Logan? Well, let me play another clip by President Trump, and then we'll show that as well. Here we go.
Too expensive. Bottom line is this, that Americans deserve to become first-time home buyers. President Trump has created the best economy in the world. The one thing that would make it better is lower interest rates. Full employment is even more possible. Wages rise faster as interest rates come down when your employment is at 4.1% because of your leadership. We have revenues coming in at record-breaking, maybe last month even more revenue coming in than bills going out, which is remarkable.
They found $26 billion. They said, where did that come from? Nobody, I think that's been many, many decades since that happened.
I can't remember that.
They found $26 billion last month, and they said, where did that come from? I said, why don't you try the tariff? Said it was true. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars, and our country is doing great, and we have no inflation, and the numbers, the job, everything is good. The one thing we have to do is get housing prices down and the interest rates down so people can buy the house, because they're all making money, but they can't get the interest rate down. We have to.
Amen.
Yeah, amen. And of course, if they get the housing market going, that's going to start spurring other growth in the economy, whether they're buying a home that's being built, lumber, piping, all that goes with that, all the jobs, everything, the cement, on and on and on. But even if you buy an existing home, you're talking about furniture, you're talking about drapery, you're talking about blinds, you're talking about all the new stuff for the kitchen. People are gonna buy new furniture for the new house. All the way around, it spurs the economy. And that's one reason why they know that. Plus, they know that if we can get people in their own homes, purchasing their own homes, then you have motivation to save, to invest, to build that life, the American dream. And it really makes people grow up as well, the younger people. When they get their own home, tends to make them start growing up. thinking about now that I'm an adult, I got a house, let's take more seriously my savings account, which all of these things spur the economy, correct?
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, when I was young, which was a couple thousand years ago, according to you, Brandon, I bought my first house. It cost me $32,000. My mortgage payment was $187 a month. I was having a heart attack because, it's a responsibility. You looked at it as a responsibility. You didn't spend, but the government made it possible for you to be able to buy affordable housing because all the economics and mortgage rates and things like that were in place. Right now, unfortunately, based on what the Democrats have done, they destroyed the capability of being homeowners. They made America rich enough to rent. Young people want to buy a home. Here in Phoenix, I blame two people. I blame the Democrats as a consortium of people through Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe, and I blame the sellers. I really do. Because people have got this dream in their mind of what they think their house is worth, even out here in Phoenix, and excessive profits that they want, ridiculous numbers that they're marking these houses up to, and appraisers are just as culpable to it. So right now, we need not only lower interest rates, we need realistic pricing because some of these ridiculous, the average house is now $400,000. That's insanity in America. This is only being caused by the greed of the sellers. And fortunately, in Arizona, it's backing up on them because people are saying no. They're literally, some people are listing their house and they're getting much lower values and prices for it, but they have appraisers that come out and give them ridiculous numbers to sell it at.
I have a house in my neighborhood that's been sitting for a year.
Wow.
And the homeowner refuses to bring the price down. I know the realtor. The realtor's a friend of mine. I'm like, what is going on with that house? They're like, do you know what it's going for? And they told me, I'm like, well, that's way overpriced. And they're like, yeah. And we've told them that. And they refuse to back down. And the house has been sitting there for a year. Now, I don't know. I have no idea if they're underwater, if they're upside down, no clue. But you're right. It's crazy. I know of another home in the area where someone was asking $100,000 for this house, 1,900 square foot house, $100,000 over, $100,000 above what it was really worth. It was not. They're asking. Their parents died. They're trying to sell it. I asked them, "What are you selling that for?" They told me $350,000. I said, "It's not worth $350,000." Okay, a nice 3-bedroom, 1,900 square foot house. It's not worth $350,000. It's worth $250,000. A month later, guess what they're selling it for now? $250,000. But they tried getting $350,000. And you're right. These people, a lot of these people are just, but it's the sellers that are putting it up there at those prices. But you're right. People are pushing back against that. But not too long ago, they were lining up during COVID and 18 people fighting for one house. And if you wanted to get it, you had to pay over $20,000 asking price to get the house.
Well, and a lot of people still think they have these COVID values for their homes, and it's insanity. That's when all this started, and it's gonna have a comeuppance because people are rich enough to rent. They're saying I can rent a house a heck of a lot cheaper than I can putting out all this money to live in it. Mm-hmm. I can rent it.
That's right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. So it's not a bad idea to be a renting person and be people that own rental property. This is a very major problem in this country. And, what happened to the days of buying a house my dad used to tell me you buy a house to live in it, not to make money on it. And some of these people buy the house and they sell it 2 years later, suffer the consequences right now. Mm-hmm. That's really what's going on. We've got a lot of big issues in hand.
Let's go back to the last clip I want to play, unless another one pops up. Here's what President Trump had to say when asked about him putting pressure on Powell to lower interest rates.
Meant to put pressure on Jerome Powell to resign.
No, there's no pressure. No. We want to have, his term comes up soon. I think he's going to do the right thing. Everybody knows what the right thing is. Even people that believed in, the higher rates, they're all on board. They all want to see the interest rates come down. It's very important.
Yeah, it is very important. Absolutely. All right. I want to share with you real quick, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She put out a great tweet today. Here it is. I have many concerns about AI executive order signed yesterday by President Trump While I understand the many promised benefits of AI, I remain committed to protecting state rights, human jobs, human lives, human rights, our environment, and critical water supply. My deep concerns are the executive order demands, rapid AI expansion. We covered this yesterday, by the way, guys, the plan, but this is a new tweet by her. This executive order demands rapid AI expansion with little to no guardrails and brakes. It also contains the threat of withholding federal funds from states who regulate AI, which is an absolute threat to federalism, why I strongly oppose the AI state moratorium originally in the big, beautiful bill. Rushed AI expansion and data centers being built all over the country from state to state with no plan in regards to environmental and critical water supply impact has massive future implications and problems. I've been in construction my entire life. I can tell you firsthand, when you move dirt, there is always an impact to the surrounding area. When you build something that requires a high water demand, it will always take water away from others. That means people, cities, businesses, and surrounding counties and states. Data centers are like black holes when it comes to water requirements. They consume massive amounts of water for cooling, literally millions of gallons per day. If you know nothing about the water wars between Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, and Florida, then you know states already, if you know anything about it, you know states already fight each other over water supply. Counties fight each other over water supply and sue each other over PFAS, PFOS, and other impacts. Just wait and see how bad lawsuits will become when counties are competing for data centers in order to get rid of county property taxes. And the unintended results is new data centers that steal the water from surrounding homes and neighboring counties and states. Competing with China does not mean become like China by threatening state rights, replacing human jobs on mass scale, and creating mass poverty and creating potentially devastating effects on our environment and critical water supply. This needs a careful and wise approach. The AIEO takes the opposite. So again, here is a huge supporter of President Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and we can all be adults and disagree about policy, and that's what she's doing. Now you say, how does all that fit into your conversation with Mike Weiner? Because these data centers are largely going to be driving many things, but this crypto currency that's coming, and it does seem to be coming. And the new AI, this new plan, at the end of the plan we showed last night with Patrick Wood, is talking about biometrics and running it all with biometrics. So this is all very concerning. Closing comment, Michael?
That's exactly why 8 months ago, like I predict prices, I told people to start creating their own gold bank, just like you have, Brandon, and other intelligent people. That's why you have people like Warren Buffett's group trying to move their money out and also buying a lot of gold because of the fact they want, and that's why states are creating states' rights with their gold for their people. And my position is understanding. Some people go, well, cryptocurrency, a great investment. It's no longer an investment. It's a regulated entity, and we're yet to see the effect. Regulation is going to have a huge effect on a market that was totally unregulated. They're going to have financial requirements, reporting requirements, legalization, background checks on all the people working there. All these things that they don't have right now, and it's eventually going to stop the price going crazy. Now, there is a good reason to be involved in cryptos because the world is going digital. I like the idea of legitimately keeping the Federal Reserve out of it, but I am very concerned about the issue regarding the banks and your personal investment accounts. The one thing, and I told a client of mine the other day that you control, and I told one today, the one thing that you control that the government does not have access to, and you can get your money and you don't have to say, Mother, may I, to anybody, is your gold. And if you don't have gold in your portfolio, or if your financial advisor says, I don't buy gold, it's ridiculous, it doesn't pay you anything. Gold is not supposed to pay you anything. It's supposed to protect everything. And if you do not have it, if that wasn't true, why did the founders back at the last part of the 18th century put in God we trust and put our money backed by gold for almost 140 years? Wake up, because the people who do wake up are doing something now. The people who do not wake up will pay us more and get less in the future. Period. I'm done.
I'm done. Get your free packet. Go to worldviewgold.com. Worldview Gold worldviewgold.com to get your free no obligation packet of information about putting gold into your IRA. Remember, if you get 1933 or older gold, 1933 or older, called numismatic, by law, it's private. The government doesn't even know you own it, right? Swiss America doesn't file any paperwork to the government to say, oh, so-and-so just bought this. It's private. That's 1933 and older, which actually is not only based on spot price, but the rarity of the coin as an antique also has a premium. So you could possibly make money on two things: the spot price going up and the rarity of the coin as more people move into those coins for the privacy and the potential double appreciation. Again, I don't give financial advice. I give financial opinion. You should get your free packet of information at worldviewgold.com. Just fill out the form, worldviewgold.com, or you can text Wes Peters directly at 602-558-8585, 602-558-8585. All right. I hope your friend Jerome Powell has recovered from today's little meeting with President Trump. He seemed a little shaken, but I'm sure you'll call him and encourage him to keep his chin up, right?
And I want him to meet me at a hot dog stand. We'll have fun. He's a great guy. He probably won't find it. He'll probably go to Joe Biden's house. You never know.
Michael Weiner checking in. Thank you, Michael.
Good evening. You guys have a good night. Thank you,
my friend. And we will be right back after this break.
We all gave up on mainstream media. And when I say mainstream, I'm talking like Fox News, Newsmax, and the big players on the block, right? If you're like me, you gave up on them a few years ago. So I have been interviewed by a lot of different alternative media outlets. And one in particular, I won't say who it is. It has 3 letters to its name. But I appeared for a couple of years every Wednesday on one of their shows, and then suddenly it got canceled. And it come to find out when I did a little investigating, it was because the host of the show mentioned Jesus too often. And if I told you who this was, you'd probably be shocked, because it's a very conservative alternative media outlet. But this is where Brannon is different. Like Pastor Wood said, he's very unique in the sense that he gets it in terms of what's going on geopolitically, what's going on nationally. He knows all of the issues like the back of his hand, but yet he sees from a biblical worldview how it's going to influence all of our lives, not just today, okay, but a year from now, 2 years from now. Much of what he's been talking about is just now playing out, right? And so you are really ahead of the curve when you're watching his show. I really appreciate him, and I hope you do too, and will show your support to him, because he does give voices a chance. He took a chance on me, okay? And like Dr. Wood, he has greatly expanded my reach.
Join me now is Dr. James Thorpe of Two Docs. You know, we air his show. He's a OBGYN, and he works with Dr. Moon. We air his show each and every weekend. It airs on Saturday and Sunday at worldviewtube.com, and then on demand at worldviewtube.com. And he joins us tonight to talk about many things, including, look at this one. Insurance industry data exposes 5,000 vaccine-linked deaths a week, okay? I think this is coming from Ed Dowd. I think that's the one putting this out. 5,000 vaccine-linked deaths a week. I think that's just in the U.S., folks. Now, is that number too high or too low or just accurate? Let's find out about that and many other things from Dr. James Thorpe. Dr. Thorpe, welcome back. Thanks for being with us.
Well, thanks for having me back on. It's been so long.
It has been a while.
It's way too long, but I so much appreciate being on your network. And thank you for all you do, Brannon.
Well, thank you. We're glad. I hope everybody will mark and go to. By the way, just so you guys know, you can go to WorldviewTube. Just go to worldviewtube, .com/TO Docs. TO, spell it out, 2 Docs. And when you do, look at that. TWO. What did I say? No, yeah. TWO. Worldviewtube.com/TWODOCS. Okay? And there it is. And you can always go to TV and then TV shows and find it as well. So always just go up to TV shows and find it. Otherwise, worldyoutube.com/TWODOCS. And you can watch all of their shows and load more episodes and share with your family and friends. They have a lot of great stuff here, folks, for you to share with people. Now, let's go back to that, Doc. I think this is coming from Ed Dowd. This is a brand new article. It's out yesterday. 5,000 vaccine-linked deaths a week. Is that number too low, too high, about right? What do you think, Doc?
It's way too low, and it's far too low.
So you think the deaths are much higher a week than that?
It's much higher than that. Now, I assume that that's focusing just on the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just dissect that. Let's do a deep dive on that. We know that just from the Pfizer vaccine itself, in the first 10 weeks of rollout, there were 42,086 casualties, 42,086 casualties, including 1,223 dead. Now that's just 10 weeks, right? Just 10 weeks. So, and that's only one vaccine, that's Pfizer vaccine. Now, if you go to, and if you go to fairs in January of 2021, there were 700 deaths, 700. Now we know from the Pilgrims Project of Harvard that of 2010, the VAERS picks up only about 1%. So you're looking at 70,000 dead in 1 month, just from the COVID-19, just from really COVID-19 vaccines. So recognize that the vast majority of those deaths occurred really within 3 days in a completely otherwise well human being, a normal human being, very healthy, drops over dead, 5 minutes after the shot or 72 hours after the shot. It was catastrophic.
70,000 a month. If you take 70,000 and you divide that by 4, we're at 17,500 deaths a week, not 5,000. So this number may be off by three times. It should be, on that basis, 17,500 a week dead, not 5,000.
It's even way more than that. Remember, that's only looking at the deaths that occurred attributed by the doctor, by the patient, by the nurse, a minority of some family members in close proximity to the vaccine. The way that I believe this vaccine was designed to kill was in the long term. And I knew that back in 2020. This was designed to obfuscate an etiology, a cause of the deaths. Why? Because we know that the lipid nanoparticles go to every single organ system. It causes or exacerbates a pre-existing chronic disease in every single organ system. So the direct result of that is deaths 6 months after, 12 months, a year, 5 years, and 10 years after the vaccine from a new chronic disease that was caused by the vaccine. So this is what that 5,000 isn't including at all.
Good grief. Now let's talk about what's in these shots. I got a clip I want to play, guys. Listen to this. Doc, we'll have you respond to this. Here we go.
Including, as the governor said, a number of these products, and actually all of them in one way or another, are implicated in abortion. For example, the MMR and the varicella vaccine, in every single vial, has millions of pieces of cellular and DNA debris from the cultured cell line aborted fetus. If you take issue with that, you're taking issue with the CDC and the FDA and all the literature that explains how those products are developed. You got to grow virus on some kind of cellular medium, and that's the cellular medium on which it grows, and you can't filter it all out, so a lot of it ends up in the vial. Some people find that objectionable, others don't, and that's their freedom to do so. But she does, and so do many others. And they shouldn't be forced to participate in that kind of product if they find that against their religious convictions.
Mm-hmm. But wait a minute, Dr. Thorpe, weren't we told by some of these pastors in America, hirelings in America, not real pastors, hirelings, the vaccine is a blessing from God, says Dallas pastor. Let me put that in and see what pops up, because I think that's, who said that? Robert Jeffress, I'm pretty sure. These vaccines are a gift from God. First Baptist Dallas promoting COVID-19 vaccine, hosting a clinic. Yeah, that'd be Pastor Robert Jeffress. Yeah, how are they a blessing from God when they're killing people, injuring people, causing people to be infertile and filled with aborted fetuses? Are used from aborted fetuses? Help me understand that, please.
Well, I think you heard it from the attorney for ICANN, Attorney Aaron Siri. And one thing I learned is Aaron Siri has hit the nail with a hammer and is irrefutable. What he said is true. As you know, I testified with him in the Congress, in the Senate specifically, about 5 weeks ago. He knows his facts, and the facts know him. And he can argue that with the best of them. It's irrefutable that those vaccines are derived from aborted fetuses in terms of their DNA. So let that sink in. Everybody denied it. With regard to the pastors, it's not just the Christians, although we are pathetic, and most of our churches are pathetic, and most of our church leaders are pathetic. No surprise, Jesus told us in Revelation chapter 2 and chapter 3, and I've sat through many of your Bible studies on Revelation, and you are very well aware, and you taught us the letters directly from Jesus Christ to John the apostle, direct letters to each one of those 7 churches. And I think that you would agree one level of understanding of those 7 churches is that they represent epochs or ages of the church age, from the crucifixion until the start of the 7-year tribulation. And is it a surprise that we're living in the age of the church of Laodicea, which Jesus had nothing good to say about it? And I personally believe that he's going to be more angry at these pastors, many of whom you've mentioned on your program, than he was at the Pharisees of his day.
Well said.
This is very, very clear. Maggie Thorpe, JD, also has a master's in theology from Duke. And thank God she didn't get contaminated with their nonsense teachings, their liberal progressive teachings at Duke University. But she didn't, and she learned a lot. But she is a brilliant writer and an attorney. And as you know, on the American Out Loud platform, Maggie Thorpe JD has first authored, I've second authored, probably 15 or 20 specific articles looking at how every segment of the fabric of our society was bribed by the government. And one of those segments that we wrote on, you may recall, was on how they bribed all of the religions, not just Christians, but Jewish, Christian, Mormon, every other faith tradition. And they were bribed from Biden's White House, Jeffrey Zients, the executive director, the chief of staff of the White House, was on that program in May of 2021 when vaccine hesitancy was rising and they were very afraid. So they got all these religious leaders together. Francis Collins was then director, right, of the NIH, I believe. And then we also, remember, had Vivek Murthy, the Surgeon General, with Jeffrey Zients, right from Biden's White House, telling gross lies to all of these religious leaders, saying, push this vaccine, push it in your congregation. It's Francis Collins. They called him at one point in time, Reverend Francis Collins. Push this. This is a miracle from God. And they so, without any shame, they totally misrepresented the scripture, just awful, saying that this was a miracle from God and God wants you to push the vaccine in your congregation.
Yeah, and of course you have to ask how much money did they get, as you were just saying. Here's an article from PolitiFact. What Clarence Thomas said about fetal cell lines and COVID-19 vaccine. Fetal cell lines are derived from aborted fetuses and have been used to test and develop vaccines since 1960s. That includes the COVID-19 vaccine. But some vaccines have closer connections to fetal tissues than others. Johnson & Johnson used fetal lines to manufacture its COVID-19 vaccine. Moderna and Pfizer used fetal cell lines only to test their vaccine's safety and efficacy. Thomas's statements were precisely worded, broadly saying that the vaccines were developed using fetal lines, cell lines. He did not go as far as claiming that the fetal tissue is an ingredient in the vaccines. So here's an article talking about this. Now you got to, by the way, Dr. Thorpe, you got to go through a lot of garbage to get an article like this. Most of them are telling you how what we're saying tonight is wrong and a lie. You got to go through a lot of garbage if you put this into a search engine to finally get an article like this and it's detailing the truth. It's amazing how many people tonight could put this into a search engine and be led to believe that what we're saying is a lie, when in fact, all the evidence shows it's true.
You're absolutely correct. You look at the number of, you just Google it, put it on Google, and the fact checkers will come up and make these people gaslight them.
Yep.
Probably take, dozens and dozens of these false misinformation before you get to the truth. And I tell all my patients, there's no better arbitrator of getting you the best care as you being your own advocate. That's my message to my patients is your doctors are all liars, paid off liars for the most part. The nurses are all paid off liars for the most part, as are the hospitals, as are the medical organizations, especially the corrupt organizations that govern pregnant women and women of reproductive age. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, the American Board of Obstetrics and Gynecology, and the Society for Maternal Fetal Medicine. Even after my testimony in the Senate 5 weeks ago, and 6 days later, Bobby Kennedy comes out and says, okay, no more vaccines in pregnant women. Do you think any of these organizations listen to him? No, not at all. They're all pushing the vaccines in pregnant women. But fortunately, Brannon, guess what? Fortunately, the American people are not stupid.
No,
they
not.
Know better. The uptake of the vaccines, of all COVID-19 vaccines, in the last 18 months is a pathetic 1%. And I can tell you, I've been practicing for 46 years now. I'm still actively practicing, busy clinician. I can't disclose my location. I want to protect that hospital for honoring me and allowing me to continue to practice. Nobody in that area is taking vaccines. Nobody is taking the COVID-19 vaccines. Now they're all questioning all the other vaccines.
Of course they are. And we're down to even questioning vaccines for our pets. And I'm seeing more and more veterinarians on social media saying, your dog does not need these shots every year, that many of these shots will last 5, 6, 7 years or the lifetime of the dog. But you're told to drag your dog in there year after year, ka-ching, 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 and now you wonder why Fido only lives to be 7 or 8, not 17 or more. A lot more to go on the other side of the break. Don't go away.
Introducing the Sentry Wellness System, the ultimate under-sink water treatment solution designed with you in mind. Say goodbye to harmful toxins and hello to water enriched with essential nutrients like calcium and magnesium. Enjoy the benefits of increased pH for on-demand alkalinity, all from a zero-waste system that fits seamlessly into your home. Installation is a breeze, taking just 15 minutes, so you can have clean, healthy, great-tasting water straight from your tap. Perfect for apartments, homes, rentals, and even RVs. Elevate your hydration and well-being with the Sentry Wellness System because you deserve the best in every drop.
Sentry H2O. Tap into wellness.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. I want to thank you for all your support at wvwfoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview. All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldviewtube.com, worldviewtube.com. So interesting, Doctor, you're saying what you're saying, and you don't know this. I mentioned it, earlier in the program. But I had on today, talking about questioning the doctors and the nurses and the industry. I had on earlier today at the 1 o'clock hour, a doctor, anesthesiologist, Dr. Heidi Klessig, Klessig, the brain death fallacy. And she went into all the fallacies and the lack of science behind, your relative's brain dead. And she told all these stories as an anesthesiologist, particularly the first one she was brought in for an organ donor. And she's like, I don't think this guy is gone. But she went on to tell stories of people that they were taking down the hall to take out their organs, and their eyes are open and they're crying. And yet they're trying to tell you, oh no, they're dead, they're brain dead. And or someone having their rib, their chest cracked open and then showing signs of life. And she went into great detail on the brain death fallacy to harvest organs. And this is backed up by other medical doctors that are now screaming about this. I know that's not maybe your area, but it fits with what you're talking about. You better question everything, folks, because God forbid your family member ends up in a wreck and they're on life support and you're told they're brain dead. Let us harvest their organs. And in fact, she told the story earlier of a guy that was in a wreck, young man, and they told him he was dead. They were going to take him down the hall and take his organs. And his cousin rubbed his pocket knife, took his pocket knife out and rubbed it against his cousin's foot. And his cousin jerked his foot back. Oh, that's just nerves. He did it again, and the cousin, who could hear everything but couldn't speak, was hearing it, took a swing at his cousin. The guy ended up making a full recovery. He had brain tissue coming out of his ear, she said, but he went on to make a full recovery, was out, living his life. And she was on my show today. People can find it at worldviewtube.com. But she's warning as an anesthesiologist about the very thing you're warning about.
Well, isn't it just consistent with everything else that we are seeing in our society? We look at Planned Parenthood, commercialize massive amounts of really doing the same thing. They're harvesting organs that are really even more valuable than adult organs. Brennan, we have a lot of blood on our hands. We've killed and murdered 70 million fetuses, preborn children, the most innocent, the most vulnerable in our society since Roe versus Wade. So should it be any surprise to you that the hospitals, listen, it's alleged by many very respectable sources that when all of the motivations, the financial incentives to label somebody with a false diagnosis of COVID-19 and then ultimately go through the upper levels of care, including transfer to a NICU, putting on a ventilator, of course, which killed them, giving them remdesivir, and then putting a tag on their foot, going down to the morgue, saying that they died of COVID-19, $100,000 per patient. $100,000 per patient goes to the hospital. And these are from reputable sources. So it's the same thing. Money, people will do anything for the money. The vast majority of my colleagues, physicians, killing and injuring patients, pushing the vaccines. Jim, I had to feed my family. I mean, it sounds like exactly what the collaborators of the perpetrated genocide of the Jews, in World War II, turning on the gas chambers, killing 6 million Jews.
I was just following orders, right?
I just following orders. I had to feed my family. No, you don't. Dr. Kirk Moore didn't. I didn't. Many others didn't.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about this article over at the brownstone.org, brownstone.org, the Brownstone Institute. The exoneration of Dr. Kirk Moore and the trial of Pam Bondi. Now, I want to get Dr. Kirk on the broadcast, but thankfully, we were reporting on this now for several weeks. He was going to trial. We talked about how he was not giving COVID shots to patients. This was in, I think, Utah. And in fact, he was giving some children saline because the parents didn't want the kids to be conflicted about lying. So the kids thought they got the COVID shot, but they didn't. He's giving them COVID cards. And in the process of doing this, by the way, you put out, I think somewhere on social media, didn't you put out somewhere how many lives he saved? Yeah, here you go. Here you go.
I did my analytics on it.
Okay, here we go. Dr. Thorpe, you can follow him on X. See his handle up there at J.A. Thorpe MFM. Immediately after, by the way, Dr. Kirk Moore is one of Dr. Thorpe's really, really good friends, really close friends. Immediately after Dr. Kirk Moore was charged by the Department of Justice, I stated that he deserved a Congressional Medal of Honor, a Silver Star, and a Nobel Peace Award. We are called by God to not follow illegal and unethical mandates from the government. Do you remember the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in Daniel chapter 3? Dr. Kirk Moore saved 8 lives and 280 injuries by standing up for his Hippocratic oath and giving true informed consent and defying the COVID-19 vaccine mandates. Now, you wrote that, but I want to go back over and have you comment on any of this, but the exoneration of Kirk Moore and the trial of Pam Bondi. Why is this called, and the trial of Pam Bondi? Why is that called that? Why'd they name it that, the trial of Pam Bondi, Doctor?
Well, I think, Clayton Baker, a brilliant young author, and by the way, he was on 2 docs, and he's written an incredible book. I have it around here somewhere. I should show it to you, but brilliant author and a young physician. He brings out the dark side of Pam Bondi. First of all, these charges were made under the corrupt Biden regime, and the head of the DOJ at that time, who knows, probably by an auto pen, but who was the head of the DOJ? I'm just this really, really satanic individual.
Merrick Garland?
Merrick Garland, right? So, as soon as he was relieved of his duties, Dr. Kirk Moore should have been immediately released. Now, those numbers that I came up with, those are my metrics. But if you look in the comments, he treated about 4,000 patients like that. And those are very, very conservative numbers of mine. Eight, to be specific, 8.3 lives saved and 283 injuries averted. But as Dr. Margaret stated, really it's twice that many, because of the fact that had he not wasted those vaccines would have gone to somebody else. So really it's twice that many. And I think she's right. Now, Bondi, remember, as best I can tell, and maybe you can verify this, Brennan, I'm under the knowledge, I think, that she was previously employed by Pfizer. Is that right?
Well, she had them, I think, as a client. Here we go. Here's the Miami Herald of many articles. Bondi made changes to DOJ policy. Her former client, Pfizer, might have benefited. July 6, 2025. You'll find a lot of other articles out there like that.
So Pam Bondi, could have dropped those charges, but let Dr. Kirk Moore and his family suffer for another 6 months and put him through 3 days. Maggie and I were with him during this time. This was a man that was in severe emotional distress and persecution, thinking that nobody's listening to him. Why didn't Bondi exonerate him on January 1st? But no, she let it go on. By the way, why did Bondi, it's my understanding, and I could be wrong, that Bondi shut down the lawsuit against her former business, Pfizer, right? Can you confirm that? Do you have knowledge of that, Brendan?
Well, let's see here. Further, Bondi is under severe criticism for having recently dropped a DOJ case against none other than the pharmaceutical giant and serial criminal corporation Pfizer. This is according to brownstone.org. Recall that Pfizer is both a manufacturer of the toxic COVID jabs that Moore protected his patients from, and the current record holder for the largest criminal penalty in Big Pharma's storied legal history, ever since DOJ handed it a $2.3 billion fine in 2009. And of course,
can you imagine that?
She let this thing go on. So she came into office. She could have ended it quickly. She let it continue on right up until her sudden announcement. And he was looking at like 39 years in prison over this, I think.
35. And it's just an abomination of justice. I'm glad justice was served. And, then, of course, he was asked to come out to Washington, D.C. and does the photo shoots with really, God love Marjorie Taylor Greene, because she was really the instigator of getting him set free. She forced Bondi, and also he took some pictures of Jim Jordan, who was strongly supportive of him. So God bless them all. But Pam Bondi just cashed in on trying to, and somehow maybe gain some of her market share back for apparent suppressing of everything else, right? JFK files, RFK files, MLK files. How about the 9/11 files? Never mind Jeffrey Epstein files. Oh, it's on my desk. I have it all on my desk. It's going to review. And then months later, there's nothing.
Yep. Let's go to Dr. Marty Macri. He's Food and Drug Administration, I believe. Listen to this.
Approximately 1 in 6 women in the U.S. take an SSRI for depression, including approximately 5% of pregnant women. But few people know that at least one SSRI has been linked to heart defects in babies when exposed in the first trimester. This birth defect may be due to the fact that serotonin may play a critical role in the development of the heart, as well as the brain and the gut of babies in utero. Furthermore, some observational studies have suggested SSRIs taken during pregnancy may increase the risk of birth defects, miscarriage, and neurological and behavioral problems later in childhood. At the FDA, patient safety and transparency are 2 of our top priorities. That's why next Monday, July 21st at 10 a.m., we will be gathering a diverse group of experts to have a public discussion that you can watch about the current state of science regarding the impact of SSRIs in pregnancy. We will discuss our current FDA product labels and the emerging evidence in the field. This is an evolving area of clinical medicine, and I hope that you will listen to this important scientific debate.
Talk to me about this, please. This is right up your alley as a OBGYN.
Yeah, this is the first time that I will credit and say something positive about Dr. Marty Makary. Remember, he came from the hell's den of Baltimore Johns Hopkins, that is the most governmental captured institution probably in the world. They received $2.3 billion from the government to capture and put out misinformation and propaganda just in 2022. So having stated that, God bless you, Dr. Makary, for making a very cogent and important. Listen, pregnant women should never, ever take any vaccine. And I'm opposed to pushing the SSRIs on them. And I've always been. And here's the reason.
What is that? What is that?
I'm sorry. Antidepressants or any psychoactive medications should not be used in pregnancy. And what's happened is that these doctors have been brainwashed with the three organizations, the AMA, the American Board of OBGYN, the American Obstetrics and Gynecology, exaggerating the risks of depression and suicide, which is a common and natural part of pregnancy and postpartum. And they have used this tool, which is called an Edinburgh scale of depression. And they use it, in essence, like dog bait. And if a certain number is exceeded, the patient has to have this antidepressant. It's a bunch of hogwash. They're dangerous. They've never been tested in the long term. They are associated with defects and malformations. But even more importantly than that, they're associated with long-term potential complications and psychiatric illness in children and in adults. Never been tested. So, it reminds me, Brandon, back in the 90s.
Hold right there. Don't you miss any of it. The computer is going to take it away. We'll be right back after this short break.
Consumers often ask, what should I expect when I take the Bella Grace elixir? And the answer's varied. It really depends on what your health and wellness needs are. I would consider this as your foundational core product for a whole range of health and wellness issues. Let me give you a few examples. If you're a little bit older and you have some joint health issues, some problems with mobility and discomfort, the elixir is going to be your best friend. If you have some skin health issues, wrinkles, hydration, aging, all of those elements are going to be benefited from the elixir, including age spots. Now, if you're in a younger demographic, maybe visual health is where you need some assistance. Eye fatigue, dry eyes, all of those are going to be benefited by the elixir. It's a core product because it benefits so many.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
It's worldviewtube.com, worldviewtube.com. Dr. Thorpe, what were you going to say before the break? Something about the 1990s?
Yeah, in the 1990s, the pharmaceutical companies, in collusion with a hospital, did the same thing with narcotics. You remember the pain score and the smiley face and the unhappy face. They posted that in every room, and they held the healthcare providers responsible for the patient having had a smiley face, which in essence did what? Pushed narcotics. And I was vehemently opposed to that because they were pushing narcotics in pregnant women, in laboring women, without even consent. And I would not partake in that. I was employed at the time, and I was written up and had to go to the principal's office and explain my rationale. And my explanation was very simple. This is very dangerous. Pushing narcotics in pregnant women and in anybody, especially in these not only acute situations but more importantly chronic situations, you're going to reap what you sow, and in 10 years we're going to have an opioid crisis. And my words were prophetic. 10 years later, we were having patients come back, and this is not an exaggeration, on 30 pain pills a day, Brannon, addicted to 30 Lortabs or 30 Tylenol number 3s or 30 Percocets a day.
Wow.
Same thing is happening here. Peter Bregan and many others have warned us that the risks of these psychoactive medications that these pharmaceuticals companies have come up and made billions of dollars on, they're by and large untested. You're well aware, and this data is hidden, that there's a large proportion of these serial killers that, guess what? They've been on these medications. So, we're talking about not pregnant individuals. You should not be using these in pregnancy. Unfortunately, our healthcare system has been corrupted by the almighty dollar, by the corporate kleptocratic entanglement of medical device companies and of the pharmaceutical companies with the government, kickbacks, revolving doors with large payments. And we've had dozens of catastrophic outcomes like this just in the last multiple decades. And of course, the most egregious is the COVID-19 vaccine. But obviously, opioids and these psychoactive drugs, these antidepressants, are another one. We also have many others.
Let's go to one or two last things here. This is International Journal of Risk and Safety in Medicine. Rates of successful conceptions according to COVID-19 vaccination status, data from the Czech Republic. We have that. I think we have another one. Payments by drug and medical device manufacturers to U.S. peer reviewers of major medical journals. Oh, yeah, follow the money. Hammer these two out real quick before we go.
Yeah, Vivek Manish, first country in the world that released all their healthcare data. Ironically, a former communist bloc country, right? Czechoslovakia. So they opened up all their data. Basically, what they've seen, the COVID-19 vaccines have been associated with a 30% reduction in fertility. The second study you didn't show, but it's Karaman and colleagues from Turkey just released a study showing that the vaccine has been associated with a 60% reduction. 60% reduction in ovarian reserve of eggs. And then finally, the study that you did show by David, Dan, Wen, and colleagues, published October 10th, just last year, 2024. This is an incredible article. So not only is our federal government paying off the editors of the journal, but what this brilliant cadre of authors showed, that the pharmaceutical companies and device manufacturers are paying directly the reviewers of these 4 major medical journals, the New England Journal of Medicine, JAMA, also known as the Journal of the American Medical Association, BMJ, the British Medical Journal, and Lancet. Those are the 4 most prominent medical journals in the world. And these authors looked at just the United States of America and just the reviewers of 3 years, 2020, 2021, and 2022. They received $1.06 billion, Brandon.
Good.
Don't trust your journals. Don't trust your doctors. Don't trust Jim Thorpe. Do your own due diligence. You are your own best health advocate.
Indeed.
Do not believe any of these hospitals.
And be sure to follow Dr. Thorpe. I got to go to this, though, real quick. Your beautiful wife, she's an attorney, Dr. Thorpe. And who is that? Who is that beautiful canine? Who is that?
You know, I'm a disabled veteran, and that's Dylan. That is my service dog.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the service? Or is that too private?
No, the service is basically for chronic pain, and also for support, physical support. Help me get up, and goes everywhere I do, except on hospital assignment.
Yeah, you have major back issues, don't you?
I do, and I've had just a couple of more procedures here in the last couple of weeks.
Well, people can pray for Dr. Thorpe. What now? Tell me, did you say the dog's name is Dylan?
Dylan, like Bob Dylan, D-Y-L-A-N.
You have Dylan and I have Dolly. What kind of dog? Is that a standard poodle?
That is a standard poodle, and he's like a horse. He's an unusual variety. It's called Partey, but he's full-bred poodle. Incredible animal, just incredible.
My wife grew up with a standard poodle, and she talks about that dog often. She loved that dog. Standard poodle. There you go. Follow him at J.A. Thorpe, M-F-M, at J-A-T-H-O-R-P, M as in Mary, F as in Frank, M as in Mary. And don't forget his book. Look at that. There it is, folks. He's holding it up. Sacrifice by Dr. Thorpe. You can get it at Amazon. Just put in Dr. Thorpe on Amazon and get his book.
And I want to just point out that the Wellness Company, all the donations that I'm making, and Maggie and I, which are well over $20,000, and haven't even yet got a payment from this book, all the payments will be going to the Wellness Company. I challenge them to start a fund. It's called the Wellness Company Initiative Fund. They are matching all our donations and giving 1% of their sales. And we now have a large sum of money in there. It's all going to the COVID-19 vaccine victims. And we've made our first award to the Martin family.
Excellent. Oh, wow. Great idea. That's awesome. Check out his book, folks. And then also, worldviewtube.com/2docs. worldviewtube.com/TWODOCS. worldviewtube.com/2docs. And you can watch all the great programs by Dr. Thorpe and Dr. Moon. And they also air on Saturday and Sundays in our 24/7 stream. And then you can watch them on demand on Saturday and Sundays on our website. And because we're putting up so much content, if their show gets pushed down, all you got to do is go to worldviewtube.com/TWODOCS, and you'll find all their shows right there. Dr. Thorpe, as always, let's try to get you back more regularly. It's been too long.
Thank you so much for having me on, Brandon.
Thank you. Say hi to Maggie. Say hi to your wife. Dr. Thorpe, checking in tonight. All right, Dr. Thorpe. We'll be right back.
True beauty isn't applied. It's nourished from within. Bella Grace Elixir, a luxurious, scientifically crafted blend designed to restore radiance, vitality, and strength at a cellular level. At the heart of Bella Grace Elixir lies cat's claw, a powerful herb from the Amazon known for its ability to control inflammation and protect collagen. With Verisol collagen peptides, it goes beyond the surface, stimulating your body's natural collagen production to reduce fine lines, improve skin elasticity, and promote real, visible change. Bella Grace Elixir doesn't stop at collagen. It includes astaxanthin, one of nature's most powerful antioxidants. 6,000 times stronger than vitamin C, astaxanthin protects your skin from harmful UV rays and environmental stress, while locking in hydration and promoting a radiant, youthful glow. Experience the power of nature with Bella Grace Elixir at melissahousebg.com. Discover the science behind Bella Grace Elixir at melissahousebg.com. Read powerful testimonials from doctors and real customers who've experienced life-changing results, and explore other wellness products from Bella Grace. Bella Grace Elixir is more than just a product. It's a solution. Visit melissahousebg.com today.
Joining me now is Dr. Shannon Kroner. She's got a great name, Shannon. I like that name. Reminds me of another name that I like. What would that name be, Logan? Oh, yeah, Brannon. Shannon's a great name. I have a twin sister, and no, we're not identical. You know how many people asked me that growing up, Logan? When they found out I had a twin sister? Oh, really? Are you identical? Can you believe that, Logan? Yeah. I'm like, no, she's a girl and I'm a boy. But you know what? I bet in today's crazy world, they can change things around now, can't they? But anyway, you would think my parents would have named my sister Shannon and me Brannon and Shannon, right? But they didn't. Her name's Heather. But anyway, now that we've gone down memory lane, joining me now is Dr. Shannon Kroner. That's with a K, Kroner. She's the author of a book called Let's Be Critical Thinkers, critically thinking about masks, lockdowns, social distancing, and vaccines. And this book has been endorsed by a lot of heavyweights, by the way. Let me tell you about it. Well, let me have her tell you about it. Because I also want to talk about baby Grok. I thought that was a joke, but then here's the article. Elon Musk announces baby Grok AI, the chatbot designed specifically for children's learning needs. Subtitled, New Child-Focused AI follows recent Grok 4 release that Musk claims will discover useful new technologies by next year. So wait a minute, are we putting children on Grok? Let's find out from Shannon. Shannon, welcome to Brannon.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, the name is hard. It's Brannon. You know, a lot of people call me Brandon, but you're not going to do that because you get it. We're just 2 letters off of having the same name. So I was shocked to find out you're a doctor. You're so young. You must be like an overachiever or something. You're a doctor, a PhD at what, like 19, 20?
I wish.
That's what I said to Logan. I said, she's like 20 years old. She's already a doctor. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a mom of 2, homeschool mom. And I live in California where we have the strictest vaccine mandate laws in the nation. We have no medical exemptions, no religious exemptions, no personal belief exemptions. So I have been fighting vaccine legislation since forever, for so long.
Forever. It feels like forever, doesn't it? Okay, so can I ask, why are you still there? You know, I live in Tennessee. You're welcome to come here. I mean, because you wouldn't bring your California politics with you, so we would welcome you here. Why are you still there?
Family.
It's either the weather or family. That's what I hear from my friends. You can't beat the weather. That's what they tell me. So it's usually weather or family. Yeah.
Yeah, you can go to the beach and the snow in the same day.
Wow. All right. So tell me about baby Grok. I thought that was a joke when I first heard it. It's not a joke, is it?
You know, according to Elon, it's something that he wants done. And I will just say that I actually have been a user of Grok for many different things. And I did like it up until recently when he then added a lot of sexual content to it. And then soon after that, he announced he's creating Baby Grok for children. So it will be an AI app that children can use to, research things, help them with homework, but it really takes a lot of those critical thinking skills that every child needs just away because it does the work for them.
Mm-hmm. I'm hearing from teachers, and I'm guessing you did in your research, that are saying that the kids are turning in so much work done by AI, and they refuse to do the work. They refuse to do it.
Yeah. AI can write any kind of research paper a student needs. You can actually tell AI to say, write me a 9th grade paper on whatever the topic is, as if it's, speaking in the language of a 9th grader, and it will do that.
Yeah.
So there is no critical thinking skills needed anymore for school. And now if Elon Musk is creating an AI app specific for children, it's just going to be, I see that it's going to be harmful.
So what do you think will be on there, Shannon? AI for children. What do you think it's going to be programmed to say about LGBTQ, vaccines, all of that? Christianity?
It's interesting because I really did like Grok, the app, for a while. And then something happened maybe a month ago where it actually started to spit out like really woke answers to questions and even research. It would make up research data. And I would ask Grok to, can you confirm that? Send me the research papers that you're finding the information on. And it would say, oh, I'm sorry, that research paper doesn't exist. You're correct. So it's really not something that, can be counted on for truth. And now with the new, it's like wokeism. I really worry about the future of education for children who really just kind of turn to AI without thinking about whatever it is that they need to learn about. And what Elon Musk has said is that it's really going to be meant for educational purposes. Whatever he means by that, I feel like it's going to become a crutch for many children that just are lazy and don't want to do the research that needs to be done.
Well, and of course, my concern too, along with yours, I'm sure, is what value system is going to be being spit out by AI. So now AI will be considered the brightest of all the minds combined. They're saying, just take all the brains of the world and you can put it into this powerful system. So it's going to become, I'm afraid, like, perceived as being indisputable, right? We asked AI, and this is what AI said. We know it's smarter than all the brains in the world combined. So, well, really? Number one. But number two, what's it going to be saying about the LGBTQ thing? What's it going to be saying about vaccines? Because this is what your book.
I've had arguments with AI before on vaccines and their connection to autism.
What happened when you did that?
I specifically asked, do vaccines cause autism? And it will say, no, that was something that was created by Andy Wakefield and it's been debunked, and it goes all down that road. And then I can, feed it information that disproves what it's saying. And it will kind of reword itself and say, okay, well, yes, that paper exists, that research exists. And so, it tends to be wrong, and it tends to lean more towards the mainstream narrative and the woke narrative.
I got into an argument with Grok a couple weeks ago, put information into it to show that it was wrong, and it refused to back down.
Wow.
It refused to back down, even though I was putting in information, even from government sources, showing that its responses were incorrect. It refused to back down.
That's unbelievable. Wow. And what was that on? If you don't mind.
Yeah, I was popping in there information about what it takes to be a church in America. What does it take to be a church? What is the nonprofit status of a church? How was the nonprofit status of a church derived? And the IRS has rules, and they're very light rules, because we have something called the separation of church and state in America. So the IRS doesn't like going around saying you're a church, you're not a church, you're a church, you're not a church. And so they just basically say you have to have, these criteria, and you don't even have to meet all of them, but just some of these criteria. And then boom, you're a church. And then your church is automatically nonprofit. You don't have to go to the IRS and say, I'm starting a church and I want your blessing and you to say I'm nonprofit. Anyone can go look up the PDF on this. The IRS has a whole PDF on it. And it's like immediately, once you guys form a church meeting these criteria, you're automatically a church and nonprofit. The IRS doesn't. And Grok, I was just challenging Grok on that because I was writing some stuff and doing some stuff. And I thought, I wonder what Grok would say about this. Popped it in there and Grok wanted to argue over this. Grok wanted to argue. I'm like, I'm putting into you a PDF from the IRS, Grok. Grok wanted to still argue.
Wow. Wow. And then think about that. That will be a tool for our children. And I think it's going to be very damaging.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's go to this. Critically thinking about masks, lockdowns, social distancing, and vaccines. Now, what age group is this for?
It's really for like an older elementary to middle school, 8 to 15. And what it teaches is it teaches critical thinking skills, something that's not being taught in schools today. You know, many teachers just want children to know like rote memorization of things. These are the facts, memorize them. And my book actually teaches a child how to critically think about whatever it is.
Give me an example, can you?
So for instance, in the book, I go over all the different policies that we were, inundated with throughout the pandemic. So critically thinking about masks. Do masks actually work? And what does the science really show? And so the character in this book, Darlene Data, actually looks at the research and shows that, when people wear a mask, they actually tend to speak louder and enunciate their words. And so they have more spit coming out of their mouth, which then goes through the pores in the mask. And she's able to, show that masks really don't work the way that we were all told that they work. Same with social distancing. And she does the research in the book to show that the 6 foot rule was made up and germs can fly on past 6 feet. There is no dead stop at 6 feet, especially when like people are like walking around, and it was just nonsense that we're told. She talks about vaccines, the COVID vaccines, and she talks about the vaccine mandates, and also school lockdowns and what that did to children, and how really there was no benefit in locking down our schools, and instead it negatively impacted children, causing them anxiety, stress, and a whole assortment of different emotions and problems. And so she looks at all of that stuff. She also shows the reader what propaganda is, and tells the reader how to spot propaganda, because kids are not taught propaganda today, and it's everywhere. It's on every billboard.
You mean they're not taught how to identify propaganda?
They're not. They're not taught how to identify propaganda. So my book teaches children how to identify propaganda, what it is, how to do the research, what questions to ask, and also goes over informed consent and the importance of informed consent, and just really kind of everything that we were, had to deal with throughout the pandemic to make sure that it doesn't ever happen again, and that children are definitely more awake to the world around them. And what the media is telling them, it makes them, my goal is to have children question what they're being told.
Perfect. That was where I was going. Question the media and question the government, right?
Exactly.
Question the media, question the government, and question the, quote, experts, right? Question the expert.
That's exactly.
Today on my radio show and TV show at 1 o'clock Central, I had on a doctor who has written a book. She's an anesthesiologist. She's actually written a book on this whole idea, your relative is brain dead. So pull the plug, they're brain dead, we're going to harvest their organs. She said there's really this idea of brain dead came up from just a small group of people at Harvard years and years ago, and it's now used to say, they're brain dead. And she went into examples where people are on the table having their organs harvested, and they started opening their eyes or had reaction like you would expect, or someone on their way down the hall and they were going to put him down, take his organs. And he starts crying and looking around and crying. And they try to tell him that these were just reflexes. Well, they finally couldn't find a doctor that would do the surgeries, thankfully. The man recovered and went on to live a normal life and married, children, the whole 9 yards. The point is, question authority, question the experts, question the doctors, question the media, question me, right? What is your authority? How do you know what you're saying is true? Where did you get your information from? I mean, these are basically critical questions for thinking that we should be teaching to children and adults alike, right?
Absolutely. And then my book is really meant for, it's geared towards children. It's a children's book. It's really, cute and it illustrated really nicely. But really, every parent should be reading this book alongside their child and discussing, having open conversation.
Mm-hmm. I think a grandparent could give it to a grandchild too as a gift, right? And read it with them.
Yes, absolutely.
Because a lot of grandparents want their grandkids to be critical thinkers, particularly now more than ever. Now, I hear some pretty big names have endorsed this book, right?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
We've got, the book has Roseanne Barr, Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. Brian Hooker, actor Ricky Schroeder, General Flynn, Marla Maples. There's so many. And Dr. Joe Latipo, Surgeon General of Florida, has endorsed it. So there really is. Actually, there were so many endorsements that I had to create several pages within the book for all the endorsements.
That's a good problem to have.
A great problem. I'm very appreciative.
Now, how did you get involved with all these people? What were you involved in the MAGA movement? Were you involved in the Maha movement? How did you get so many to endorse the book?
Well, it all kind of started years ago with fighting for vaccine choice in California. And, that's where I actually got to meet Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and get to know him, and Del Bigtree, and both of them endorsed my previous book. I have another children's book called I'm Unvaccinated and That's Okay.
That's good.
I have it right here to show. So that's
excellent. I'm unvaccinated and that's okay.
And actually, when you say that, grandparents giving the book to the children, that I received with my first book, I received so many.
Oh, there's President Trump holding the book.
Yes. It's been endorsed by a lot of really amazing people.
Wow. And, when was he holding your book? When was that?
That was about 2 years ago, I believe. Wow. Yeah.
So can I ask, where in California are you?
Right in the heart of Los Angeles.
I was afraid you were going to say that. Look, there you are with RFK Jr. There you are with President Trump. Look at that. Our attorney, Nicole, do you know Nicole Pearson out there in?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, we have Nicole on. We gotta get Nicole back on, Logan. Why has she not been on in a while? We gotta get Nicole back on. So I would just figured if you're in LA and you're a conservative, you had to have run into Nicole.
Absolutely.
But she's been fighting all these things.
Yes, she does excellent work.
Mm-hmm. And I found out about you through Liz, and I found out about her through Liz. So I just figured you guys probably were running in the same circles.
Yes. Well, no, it's a small circle in California.
Yeah, it is.
Of people who've been around for a while, really continuing this fight for our children, because, we live in a really ridiculous state that just keeps putting out these bills and legislation that continues to take our rights away. So. Yeah.
Well, I hope people will get the book. Let's show I got it right here. There it is. And where can they get it? I know it's on Amazon. I know you can get it on Amazon. Where'd it go, Logan? Where'd it go? There we go. There it is.
It's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
Okay.
And both of my books are on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
All right. Spell her name correctly. Shannon, and the last name Kroner. Put her name into Amazon. It'll pop up, including her book, I'm Unvaxxed and It's Okay. That's a great title. All right.
And people can reach me on my website, drshannonkroner.com.
drshannonkroner.com. Again, Kroner. Well, keep cranking out the books. We need to teach kids reason, logic, and context, don't we?
Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely.
Been good having you on, Shannon. Thank you.
So much for having me.
Thank you. Shannon, checking in. There it is. Let's Be Critical Thinker. It's available on Amazon. Get a copy for your kids or your grandkids. All right? All right. Before we go tonight, Hulk Hogan died today. He was only 71. Is that right, Logan? 71 years old. Reportedly, it was a cardiac arrest. And you know what the first thing I thought of when I heard that he passed away? I thought to myself, well, I'm so glad that, I don't know, a year or two ago, I heard that he had become a Christian and was baptized and was making a strong profession of faith in Christ. And that, so it didn't sting so bad, right? When you heard that he passed away and you knew that he had made a profession of faith. In fact, here he is himself. I got a couple clips I thought you might be encouraged by tonight. Him proclaiming his faith. Here we go.
Well, when things were tough, I realized that this too shall pass, that this was just a temporary situation. I realized that, as long as I made the right choice, and followed my faith more than what people were saying or what the newspapers or the tabloids were saying, and didn't get sucked into that. None of that stuff was real. The only thing that is really real is the stuff that's going to last forever. Your faith and your belief in God, and knowing that, once you're a Christian, you've accepted Christ as your Savior. You're not going to perish, but you're going to have everlasting life. That belief in itself and that faith is what's pretty much the only thing that's real to me. Everything else is kind of like a life situation, but that's my life after life after life.
And that's not the only time he did that. He did this on several different occasions. In fact, here he is being baptized. Both he and his wife. So I think that was about 18 months ago, guys, about 18 months ago. And like I said, he was pretty vocal about his faith. Here's another clip by Hulk Hogan.
At the end, the one guy I finally became friends with, which we did not get along at all, was Roddy Piper, and I got real close at the end. Before he passed away, man, we were on the phone every day talking about scripture, and he wanted to understand about accepting Christ as a Savior. Every day I was on him, brother, every day. So we became very close.
Hey, I know, speaking of that, spirituality and your relationship with God is important to you. And I know that you were a Christian and been a Christian through your whole life, but I'm sure there's been like a reawakening of sorts. Like, when did that happen for you, and when did you really start that walk again with God?
Well, recently. I was saved when I was 14. I was playing guitar at a youth ranch. I was playing football, and a couple of football players say, hey, we go to this Christian youth ranch and we sing every week. So I went with them. And then, they said, oh, he can play guitar. So the next week I brought my guitar and ended up playing guitar for all the songs and stuff. And I accepted Christ as my Savior then, but it took a while for me to get it. But then, rock and roll music, wrestling, didn't follow the path for many years. And then with all the stuff that's happened in my life personally, all the crashing and burning and getting up and moving forward and starting over and crashing and burning again, and this mistake after that mistake, I just totally surrendered, man. And I said, you know what? I've fought harder than anybody. I've worked more longer hours than anybody. And I'm just so tired of being in the same empty back to zero space that I started going back to church every weekend and got baptized, totally surrendered. And now I just tell my big God about my little problems, and all these people that nip at my heels, brother, I just pray for them. I can't get involved with the drama because, I just let God fight those battles, man. I just let him take over, and no matter what type of drama comes at me, and it's always something, I just sit back and try as best as I can. And I'm not always good at it. I try as best as I can just to remain still.
Hulk Hogan passed away today. I think he was 71 years old. All right, before we go tonight, folks, remember we're brought to you by you. WorldviewFoundation.com. It's one of the most powerful ways you can support us, folks. WorldviewFoundation.com. We do so much, push out so much programming absolutely free of charge, but it's not free. It is not free. Our bandwidth bill is thousands and thousands of dollars a month. And not only do we have now Worldview Tube, 24/7 stream, and then on demand, we now have added worldviewtube.com/prophecy. That's our 24-hour-a-day Bible prophecy channel with all the Bible prophecy channel, all the Bible prophecy, thank you, Delta, or Dolly. All the Bible prophecy programs we've developed over the years are there. Worldviewtube.com/prophecy. Then we have a history channel, worldviewtube.com/history. Tomorrow night, we should be releasing our brand new documentary on one of my heroes, Robert E. Lee. Did you know he was also a hero of one of our presidents? You got a picture of Robert E. Lee in his Oval Office. You'll find out who. I think someone wrote the president and said, why on earth would you have Robert E. Lee in your Oval Office? And he wrote back a lengthy letter. I'll tell you which president and read the letter tomorrow night. And then that'll go into our history channel, along with all the kinds of other stuff we're working on. But worldviewtube.com/history. And then we have worldviewtube.com/health. That's our health and home and health channel, worldviewtube.com/health. Then we have brand new this week, worldviewtube.com/Bible. You know, we've produced a lot of Bible teaching programs over the years. And myself, Dr. Andy Woods, Dr. Tommy Ice, Dr. Mark Hitchcock, Dr. Randall Price. There's so many guys that Dr. Rob Lindstead, many people, Dr. Jimmy D. Young, and Dr. John Whitcomb, the list could go on and on, Dr. Ron Carlson. So again, we have now a Bible, 24-hour-a-day Bible channel. We're just teaching the Bible. Worldviewtube.com/ the Bible in biblical worldview. Worldviewtube.com/Bible. So we have worldviewtube.com/Bible, worldviewtube.com/prophecy, worldviewtube.com/history, worldviewtube.com/health. All free, all free. So again, we need your support to keep pushing out free Christian worldview programming. Don't forget, we're also on Sunday nights holding our church service. I've been doing that church service on Sunday nights for several years now. I'm teaching through the book of Revelation. Lord willing, I'll be back with you Sunday night, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, as I finish up chapter 18, Revelation chapter 18. There's 22 chapters, so we're getting close to the end. And of course, we're playing those on our Bible teaching and our Bible prophecy channel as well. And again, they're all free, brought to you by our foundation, worldviewfoundation.com. Roll the music. Let's call it a night. Hey, don't forget about our fall conference coming up. Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. Friday night and Saturday. I think I have it, Logan. You're probably looking for me to show a picture of it somewhere, aren't you? Oh, you have it up there? Look at you. Well, there it is. Gordon Chang, Dr. Lana, Alex Newman, Sidney Powell, Dr. Woods, Chris Martinson, Mark Mitchell, Rasmussen, Hedia, all the details, including the banquet on Thursday night, worldviewstore.com. Only 350 seats available for the conference. All right, hope you'll join us. May God save America. Take care.
You're watching Worldview Tube, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon Howell.
Faith, spiritual values, moral issues, government, economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon Howell.
And welcome on this July 24th, 2025. July 24th, 2025. We're going to be joined by one of my broadcast partners here at Worldview Tube, Tamara Scott. Tamara Scott's going to join us because Tamara has been way ahead of the curve on something that's very important. And it might impact every one of you in this audience. How many of you on your driver's license are a donor? You're an organ donor. Well, you might want to think twice. You know, human nature being what it is, some of us, and many of this audience, we're very good at understanding human nature, aren't we? Particularly those of us that are Christians that study the Bible. We understand we live in a fallen, sinful world. We understand original sin. We understand man's default position a lot of times, which is what? Selfishness, greed, situational ethics, moral relativism, right? Utilitarianism, whatever gives you the best outcome. the best outcome for the most people, then we can justify this. Many of us know about the old lifeboat scenario that so many have been trained in since the early 70s, mid 70s, right? 4 people in a lifeboat, you got provisions for 3. Who do you throw overboard? And because we understand the default position of man in a sinful, fallen world versus what we pray is the redeemed state of man through the indwelling of the Holy Spirit and the washing of the water, the Holy Spirit and the Word, the study of the Word, that, old things pass away. We become more involved in, after justification, sanctification. Doesn't mean we still don't have the battle between the old man and the new mind, but we start seeing some of those things lessen, right? And some people who become Christians later in life, you see that big change in their life because they go from being very selfish people, self-centered people, angry people,